Before history had heroes, before empires had names, war had already learned how to organize itself. 5,000 years ago, two civilizations discovered that survival was no longer enough. To endure, they would have to dominate. If you value deep history told with clarity and respect, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Elemental History, where ancient worlds rise, collide, and fall. War did not begin with kings. For tens of thousands of years, violence was personal raids, skirmishes, survival. But around 3000 BCE, something changed. Agriculture created surplus. Surplus created cities, cities created borders, and borders created something new: organized war. This was not chaos, it was planning. Supply lines, standing forces, political goals. The first wars of empire were not fought for survival, but for control. Two regions would define this transformation: Mesopotamia and the Nile Valley. The Sumerians created the first real cities in southern Mesopotamia: Uruk, Lagash, and Ur. Across the Zagros Mountains lived Elam, a rival civilization controlling trade routes, metals, and mountain passes. These were not tribes, they were states. Plate tablets from this era record raids, counter-raids, and entire campaigns. Kings like Eonatum of Lagash marched their armies not to punish a rival tribe but to annex their territory. The Stele of the Vultures, one of history's earliest war monuments, shows us something unprecedented: soldiers marching in tight formation, carrying standardized weapons. It depicts fallen enemies being stripped of their armor and systematically counted. This was logistics. This was bureaucracy. This was warfare's state policy. Elam resisted fiercely. The war went on for centuries, with cities burning down, being rebuilt, and then burning again. It was never just one battle. It was a system of war, and it worked. The constant conflict between Sumer and Elam created a new kind of society, one forged in the fires of organized violence. What made these wars different wasn't their brutality. Humans had always been brutal. It was their intent. Sumerian kings ruled through divine mandate. Claiming the gods themselves demanded conquest, victory became a sign of divine favor. Political legitimacy. Defeat wasn't just a loss. It was a rebellion against the cosmic order. Elam was forced to adapt. They absorbed Sumerian military methods, improved their own metallurgy, and reorganized their armies to counter the threat. In this deadly feedback loop, war accelerated civilization, but it also destabilized it. By 2300 BCE, the entire region collapsed under the immense weight of constant conflict, environmental strain, and internal revolts. The very engine that built their world also destroyed it. Empire had proven possible, but it was also fragile, while Mesopotamia fractured. A different story was unfolding along the Nile. Egypt unified. The predictable rhythm of the Nile's flood created one of the most stable civilizations in human history. But stability bred ambition. To the south lay Nubia, a land rich in gold, ivory, and manpower. Egypt did not just raid Nubia. Egypt absorbed it. Campaigns during the Old Kingdom and the First Intermediate Period pushed Egyptian military control deep into Nubian territory. Massive fortresses were built, not to defend Egypt, but to project power southwards, controlling trade and extracting resources. Temple reliefs from the period don't show glorious battles as much as they show administration. They depict Nubians bound, catalogued, and taxed. This was not primarily an ethnic war. It was an economic war. Egypt needed Nubia's resources to maintain cosmic order. They called it Mat, where conquest was a sacred duty to keep the universe balanced. Sumer fought and fell, while Egypt expanded steadily and lasted for ages. Two different strategies, but both born from the same world-changing discovery. War was no longer just chaos. it was infrastructure. These early brutal campaigns taught humanity something dangerous. If organized correctly, violence could build civilizations. The Elam Wars and Egypt's campaigns in Nubia weren't just random events. They were blueprints. Every empire that came after, like Assyria, Rome, and the British Empire, learned from these and scaled them up. This was the moment war stopped being a raw human instinct and became calculated human policy. The next empire is already waiting. Subscribe to Elemental History and continue the journey.